Providence Attorney General says John Geddert, a former U.S. Olympics gymnastic coach, has taken his own life.
Geddert died after Attorney General Damon Nessel announced charges were filed against him, including sexual assault and human trafficking.
It is alleged that John Geddert used force, fraud, and coercion against the young athletes that came to him for gymnastics training for financial benefit to him.
Geddert was coach of the U.S. women's team that won a gold medal in 2012 at the London Olympics. Geddert also had ties to former sports doctor Larry Nassar, who's in prison.
The victims suffer from disordered eating, including bulimia and anorexia, suicide attempts and self-harm, excessive physical conditioning.
Nessel says many of these victims still carry these scars from Geddert's behavior to this day. I'm Ed Donahue.
Two guys posing as plumbers tucked their way into a Bronx apartment in the vicinity of East 227th Street and Barnes Avenue. Once inside, at least one of them pulled a gun, and they tied up two people who were home, a 28-year-old man and a 35-year-old man. Cops say the robbers beat the two men for hours, even using a hot iron on one of the victims. The attackers eventually fell asleep, and one of the victims broke free and ran for help. When police arrived, the gunmen were gone. So was the older victim. Anyone with any info on this, urged to call the Crime Stoppers hotline, 800-577-TIPS. Wednesdays, time 9:25.
Do you check your Google search results regularly? You should. People often get their first impression of you or your business online. Negative comments on the internet can impact your life and your livelihood. Take control of your online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com. It may reveal negative posts from an ex-employee, upset patient or client, news article, legal issue, or even exposed personal information right there in your Google search results. Uncover what's lurking on the internet about you with reputationdefender.com's patented scan and get your free reputation report card. Or for immediate assistance with your reputation, call 800-933-1022. Our cutting-edge technology helps make your Google search results look their best. That's 800-933-1022. 800-933-1022. Or take the free scan at reputationdefender.com.
Wednesdays, time 9:26. Now Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 West.
Investors decided to fight Federal Reserve assurances inflation is not an issue. Take no chances. They booked profits because the stock averages 1.75 to 3.5% lower. The Dow fell. The Nasdaq 479. The S&P 96. Our online activity during the pandemic may end up costing jobs. At Best Buy, the company is shrinking store staff. 21,000 fewer employees at the end of the last fiscal year. TD Bank cites online banking as the primary mover in closing 82 U.S. branches closed in April. Online is how we ordered food, especially in the last 3 months of the year with the COVID surge. DoorDash saw sales rise 225% in the last quarter. Edison Trend saw DoorDash expand its market share to more than half the U.S. in January. And fast food is relying on a hunger for soul meat. Beyond Meat has announced partnerships with McDonald's and Yum Brands, parents of Taco Bell, KFC, and Pizza Hut. Bloomberg Money Watch at 26 and 56 past every hour. I'm Joan Doctor for 1010 Win.
Wednesdays, time 9:28.
Hey folks, it's Gary, president of the Real Estate Authority. And if you need to sell your home for any reason, listen to me real carefully. Even if you're in burning down in Long Island, and you go all the way with $1,000 in your pocket. If you're in trouble, pick up the phone, one phone call, and you can sell your home. Even if you owe more your home than it's worth, I'll get your home sold, mortgage totally forgiven, debt-free, and move on your own terms, and walk away with $1,000 to relocate. It's easy and it's totally free. Yes, totally free. Call me at 800-707-1452. That's 800-707-1452. If your house is an investment property or has non-paying tenants or squatters, I can sell any home. If it's in need of repair, mint condition, just call me. I can sell your property at 800-707-1452. That's 800-707-1452. Let me help you.
Hello, friend Pat Boone here. Silver is creating lots of excitement, so I call my friend at Swiss America to get the scoop on whether this silver opportunity is for real. What I discovered blew my mind. It's all covered in a new silver report from Swiss America, which explains why silver prices cannot stay at this level for very long. Call 800-289-2646,
1-800-289-2646. Get a free copy of the Zoom report now.
I'm Dr. Andrea Rizza, a cardiologist. Maybe you're waiting to talk to your doctor right now, but if you're having an irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, don't wait. This could be a serious condition like atrial fibrillation, which can make you about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you're having these symptoms, don't wait. Talk to a doctor by phone, online, or in person.
Brought to you by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Now is Mr. Samuel D. Flat, Social Security Disability Attorney, 718-544-2767. Wednesday, time 9:30. Good evening, I'm Paul James. The acting chief of the U.S. Capitol Police admits failings today.
Acting Capitol Police Chief Uganda Pittman testified the Capitol Police expected violence January 6th, but was shocked and overwhelmed by the number of rioters who descended on the Capitol and their conduct.
Although we knew the likelihood for violence by extremists, no credible threat indicated that tens of thousands would attack the U.S. Capitol.
Pittman conceded there was a multi-tiered failure that day. She said incident command protocols were not adhered to and supervisors failed to give proper instructions.
Correspondent Aaron Peterski, Wednesday News Time 9:31. Traffic transit, here's Kelly Dillon.
We're bumping a bumper in Jersey on southbound Route 21 approaching exit 6 in Belleville. The map this year takes out the 2 right lanes. Also slow on the northbound Garden State Parkway 143 to 145 light lane construction work. The eastbound North Bay extension a bit busy across the North Bay Bridge. You're going to see construction work in the right lane. Not too bad on the West Side Highway or the FDR Drive so far as tonight. Things are okay in Queens along the LIE and the Grand Central. Also no trouble on the Cross Island. Here's what we see on Long Island 6-3. Your snapshot tells you the LIE, the northern and southern states all looking great. And here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Looking better now at the inbound George. The upper deck accident's been cleared away. Lincoln Tunnel, no problem. The inbound Holland, about a 10-minute wait. Construction on 12th Street by Jersey Ave is the reason. And outbound, no problem. Traffic and transit every 10 minutes on the one for breaking traffic alerts whenever they happen. I'm Kelly Dillon on 1010 Winds.
News Time 9:32 now. The 1010 Winds AccuWeather Extension 4-day forecast. Here's Brian Thompson.
Overnight, while they cleared a partly cloudy sky, it's going to be colder with less wind, a low in the 20s in most suburbs, 31 below. Things should be up on Friday. We'll see a sunshine, not much wind, a high of 45. And we'll turn cloudy Friday evening, while it's going to rain a lot in the late on Saturday. Another round of rain moves in for Sunday, especially during the midday and afternoon hours, while clouds at a high of 46. Clouds and some sunshine on Monday. It will be mild with a shower possible and a high of 52. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station.
44 degrees, clear in Midtown, humidity 28%. Winds west at 5, gusting to 18 miles an hour. It's 39 in Long Beach, 33 in Morristown, 44 in Hoboken. Winds News Time 9:33.
Have a bath that needs remodeling? Lee Harris here with a word from Bath Fitter. 2 words, really. Call them. My wife and I literally spent years trying to figure out how to remodel our bath without turning the place into a major disaster area. Then Bath Fitter came in with a free consultation and showed us how they do the job in as little as 1 day with 1 installer and a lifetime guarantee for as long as I own my home. Call now and get 0% interest for 30 months. Go to bathfitter.com or call 877-792-BATH. 877-792-BATH.
1877 card circuit.
live from an undisclosed location. This is the Gribble Nation Roadcast. Welcome to another episode of Fresh Drives on the Gribble Nation Roadcast, powered by Anchor FM. This is Doug from Gribble Nation. And with this episode, I actually want to do things a little bit differently. One of the things that we had set this podcast up for, and we discovered that basically there's an app that we can do online, or even just by using the website or what have you, is we can actually use this for trip reports. So this is what this episode is. Actually, it's going to be a trip report. So over the weekend, I took a trip down to northern Delaware and South Jersey. My primary focus was to basically finish clinching the routes, in the state routes in New Jersey. But I also, being a fan of covered bridges, I also wanted to check out Delaware's 3 covered bridges. So I was waiting for a good dry weekend, and it was, thankfully, after it has been snowy quite a bit, and especially on weekends. So it was nice to actually have a dry weekend to basically take this trip finally. So I left Albany. It was just a weekend trip. So I left Albany, New York, early Saturday morning, around 5 in the morning. And I did my usual stop. Sometimes I'll stop at the Quick Check in Kingston, New York. It's right off the thruway exit there. And then continued on my merry way. It snowed on Friday. And you could still see the snow glistening on the trees along the thruway in my drive down. And that was actually, pretty. It was nice to look at. Then I got into New Jersey, basically, took 287 down, and then cut across on US 202, and then on Route 31, New Jersey Route 31 for a little bit, and then cut across over to the Washington's Crossing Bridge, which is, basically it's an old truss bridge. It crosses over the Delaware River, and apparently that's around where George Washington crossed the Delaware. You might remember seeing that in famous paintings. So that was, got into PA that way. And yes, I did kind of do that to Shunpike, the Scudder's Falls Bridge, which I understand now has a toll. I've taken that bridge many times in the past, but I haven't really taken the new bridge because I'm actually not down that way as often as I used to be. So with that in mind, once I got a PA, I basically just took 95 down and basically took that through Philly. There's some construction going on, on I-95 north of Philly, but what else is new? That road's perpetually under construction. Fortunately, it was a Saturday morning. I didn't really have to deal with much. Passed by Lincoln Financial Field where the Eagles play, and they haven't gotten rid of the Carson Wentz picture that's on the side of the stadium yet. They'll probably have to do that this week, I would imagine, since he was just traded to the Indianapolis Colts. So I got down to US 322 in Chester, which is where I exited off of 95, and that was kind of where I started, really started the meat and potatoes of the trip. So from there, basically took 322 west to PA 261 with the intent of clinching, that highway, in Pennsylvania, and I did. It's actually pretty, it's a fairly, straightforward suburban / exurban road. We get down to the border with Delaware, and I had noticed, the corner of my eye, and I was also getting ready to turn, so basically making you turn and go back. So I noticed at the corner of my eye, there was a Pennsylvania Keystone sign. But I'll take pictures of that, and then we eventually put that on the quintessential PA blog that we have, which is quintessential PA.blogspot.com, or quintessential Pennsylvania. So I did that, and I had also noticed there was a state line sign. Little different than what I had seen in the past. There was a concrete marker a little bit south of there, which, to me, designates the state crossing. But then there was the Keystone sign to the north that was this cast iron sign that had the Pennsylvania Keystone that said state line. And then, there was an iron stake that went into the ground, which basically said, when it was measured and, basically when everything was confirmed. So that was actually an interesting find. And you can see that on our Facebook page for Gribble Nation, or Instagram page for Gribble Nation. And that's, something that you'll start seeing a lot of some photos in the coming days, from this trip that, I was able to see along the way. But, back into Pennsylvania, briefly, I didn't really spend much more time there. But I, hopped back on, PA 491 West. And then I detoured off, I think it's pronounced Ebright Road, or Ebright Road. And basically went to the Ebright Azimuth, which is Delaware's highest point, which is actually just south of the state line. It's a residential neighborhood, and it's only about 445 feet, which is about the same elevation where I live. And of course in New York, that's nowhere near the high point. We have Mount Marcy, which is a little over a mile tall. But Delaware, the highest point is this rise in the ground, and basically it's called the Ebright Azimuth. I just parked in a residential neighborhood, basically walked over and got my pictures, headed back in my car, and went on my merry way. So that was not the only thing I saw in Delaware. What I had done was I had taken, basically the idea was to see all the covered bridges in Delaware, which is actually, my understanding, there's 3 covered bridges. And with that, there's the Smith's covered bridge, there's the Ashland and the Wooddale covered bridge. So I saw the Smith's covered bridge first. I didn't really get time to basically stop and walk around and take pictures, since there was plenty of snow on the ground. Not really any places to park, which is disappointing. But I got a few pictures on the fly. Of course, I had cut up my, basically shooting early because there was cars behind me, and of course, I didn't want to inconvenience them while I was taking pictures of covered bridges. So I went down a bunch of side roads, and basically that area, northern Delaware, is like Red Clay Creek, White Clay Creek, Brandywine Valley, Christiana River, all very scenic, especially in the woods in the country where there's not a lot of housing and development. It's just some nice curvy roads. I wasn't expecting it. It was very scenic, and that's something that I would say is certainly worth checking out if you have time to drive around Delaware at all. So for that, basically I wound up taking a bunch of side roads. At one point I wound up on Delaware Delaware State Route rather, 72, 82. I was on 72 later on, but 82 is what I was on at first. And that was actually very, very scenic drive. I think that might actually be the Brandywine Valley Scenic Byway, which is a basically scenic byway that goes into Delaware and Pennsylvania. It's actually just named a National Scenic Byway, which now that I look at it, does not take 82, although I would certainly recommend 82. Actually, it takes Route 100 and Route 52 in Delaware. Basically goes from Rodney Square in Wilmington, then up 52, and then 100 to the Pennsylvania state line. And then my understanding is now it's going to continue into Pennsylvania as well, because it's a scenic area. 82, though, basically at least in PA, not PA, sorry, and it might be in PA too, but at least in Delaware, lots of curves, scenic. Basically, it's nothing like what you'd expect to find in Delaware. It's actually something you might expect to find more in neighboring Pennsylvania, or like a quiet corner of the Hudson Valley, or Connecticut. So that was certainly a highlight I didn't expect. I hopped on a bunch of side roads, went to the Ashland Covered Bridge, and then I went to the Wooddale Covered Bridge. The Wooddale Covered Bridge is actually a replacement covered bridge. The original bridge was built in 1850, but then there was basically the bridge was washed out from like Hurricane Henri or something like that. There's a hurricane or a tropical storm in 2003, which basically destroyed the bridge. And then actually what happened was, in 2008, they opened up a new bridge, and basically they built it to make it more resistant to flooding. So hopefully the Wooddale Bridge will be with us for years to come. With that, after that, I went to find the Arc of Delaware. Basically, the Delaware Arc, which is a monument, basically that explains, basically the Arc, because there's like a circular border, between Delaware and Pennsylvania. And apparently it's 12 miles from the courthouse in Newcastle, Delaware. And that's also why basically the border between New Jersey and Delaware in that area actually goes to the low tide point on the New Jersey side of the river, because it's all based on the Arc, from that. But there's a monument, and then there was a wedge, basically, which is part of that, basically that arc as well, or that radius from Newcastle, and it was eventually given to Delaware, because otherwise it would have been a no man's land between Pennsylvania and Delaware, and even neighboring Maryland could have had their chance at it. So what happened after that was I actually went into Maryland briefly. To go to the Foxcatcher Farms covered bridge, which is actually in looks like a horse training area. There's a lot of horse farms in the area, and as you're driving down these country roads, it's in Fair Hill, Maryland. Basically, it says, basically drive at 20 miles an hour and watch out for horses. I went there, quickly, because I was in the area. I'm like, hey, another covered bridge. A chance to get into Maryland, which I don't get to visit often, and that's a state I really enjoy visiting, believe it or not. So I was like, all right, I got a quick chance to visit Maryland while I'm there. So did that. Got my pictures. Basically it was fairly popular. There were people fishing. Basically the bottom of the creek there. There was a couple taking pictures. Basically there was another couple that was around getting pictures taken of them, and then of course there was me, basically with my camera. I spent there a few minutes, but I needed to get back on the way, and then from there, I basically decided it was time to start heading my way into New Jersey. Obviously, eventually made my way back into Newark, Delaware. Went through a road called, I think it's a Cashlow Mill or something like that, which is basically was a cutoff from Route 273, basically down to my way to Shunpike, the Delaware Turnpike toll. And there's a low railroad bridge, and then basically all these signs. It's like basically they have a high clearance indicator, and basically says, you'll hit this bridge if you are dumb and decide to drive on if you're over clearance. So that was what I had done there. And then I, after that, crossed over the Delaware River on the Delaware Memorial Bridge into New Jersey, and from there, basically started the New Jersey part of my trip. And with that, I'm going to take a short break, and then we'll be back to talk about the New Jersey part of my trip. Stay tuned.
Interested in starting a podcast and not really sure where to start? Anchor.fm, which powers the Gribble Nation Roadcast, is a great resource. Sign up, log in, record your podcast, upload, and publish. It's as easy as that. Anchor.fm provides a music library and other goodies to make for a great podcast. Record now, publish later, whenever you wish. Today, tomorrow, 2 weeks from now. Anchor.fm has made podcasting a breeze for this group of amateurs, and you can do it too.
And we're back. Now to talk about the New Jersey part of my trip that I had taken over the past weekend. It was part of my trip to northern Delaware and South Jersey that we're going to talk about here on the Fresh Drives on the Gribble Nation broadcast powered by Anchor FM. So after crossing the Delaware River, so I was focusing on South Jersey. First thing I did was actually start finishing my clinch of US 40 within the state of New Jersey, and this is actually one of the roads I needed to finish clinching, the states, basically the state routes, but I also lump in the US routes and the interstates with that. I also have a fair amount of 500 series routes clinched, but that's actually not something I'm counting towards finishing the state, and of course, I may eventually go back to that. So I took US 40 east for a few miles, passed by a sign that said Stumpy Road, which enabled me to chuckle for a bit. And then I took kind of doubled back on New Jersey Route 48 to get that route clinched. And so what I did there was I had basically took that into Penn's Grove, which my understanding was one of the old ways. There's old ferries that once crossed the Delaware, and I think the Penn's Grove ferry went to Wilmington. And then, of course, further south you have Pennsville, which that ferry I think went to Newcastle, Delaware. And I went into Penn's Grove, and after I got the 48 clinch, I actually drove into the old downtown, which is, I think it's seen better days, but also had some old signs, which I took some pictures of, and also some of the old buildings, basically that I found to be picture worthy as well. But definitely I think that town, basically, it's seen better days. I thought it could have used a facelift, but I did enjoy driving through town and seeing what Penn's Grove was about, and actually found it to be very interesting. I wouldn't mind going back there, spending a little bit more time with my camera. So after that, my little detour to Penn's Grove, I took 130 south to 140. So I needed to just, there's a part of 140 I needed to have clinched, and so I did that, double back to 130, and then 130 actually goes into New Jersey State Route 49, which I needed some miles on that, both between Pennsville and Salem, and then Bridgeton and Millville, which I was able to get both portions taken care of. But I was driving through 49, and I actually made some detours there. So the first place I detoured was to a place called Church Landing, and there's actually it's a road that just basically goes from Route 49, basically you turn right into church, and then basically goes to the river, which basically there's a few cars parked, and basically I parked. It was a little icy at the end. Obviously it's been a winter, and then from there I stopped. I took some pictures of the Delaware Memorial Bridge, which you can learn about on one of the Delaware River webinars, Bridge of the Delaware River webinars on the Roadway Wiz YouTube channel. But basically it was a nice place to take a bridge. A little windy. It's cold. I'm not gonna lie about that. It was cold. And I saw some people actually with their metal detectors on the beach a little down the way. So we get some fair use from people. But it's a good picture of basically good picture opportunities of the Delaware Memorial Bridge from there. But then I continued back on top of my car back onto 49, took that south, and I basically went through Pennsville, and then I went past, and I actually took a detour to Fort Mott State Park, which was actually an old fort. It was built at the end of the 19th century. Kind of used as like fortifications, for any enemies that were, basically trying to make their way up the Delaware and attacking Wilmington or Philadelphia. Basically, and it was. So you see, the fortifications and basically this long line of forts along the river. They can have their guns set up. Of course, I was only able to really kind of walk around the outside of the fort because a lot of things were boarded up. I wasn't sure if it was for COVID or the winter. Of course, being that it's been a little snowy and icy, I wasn't gonna really chance walking up anything. Just kind of stayed on the bottom and ground level, took my pictures. Interesting place, Fort Mott. From Fort Mott, if you look at it from a certain angle, you can basically look across the Delaware River and see the Reedy Point Bridge, which is this high truss bridge that goes over the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal, which goes from Chesapeake Bay to the Delaware River in northern Delaware. And that actually carries Delaware State Route 9. So that's actually something that's road worthy that you can see from that point, which is pretty cool. And then near there, basically when you drive to the fort, you also pass by Lighthouse, which actually is kind of not it's a particular design. Basically it's called the Finns Point Lighthouse. And it was interesting. I took some pictures. I stopped. Of course, I needed to get back on my merry way. So I took, basically, that out to Salem, Route 49, and then I went up 45 for a bit, and then I cut across on a county route. I think it was 540, back to US 40 because I needed to get, a long stretch of 40. So I actually took US 40 out from. Basically from Penns Grove, because that's actually around where I hooked up back where 40 meets 140. When I took that all the way out, past, basically Elmer and Woodstown, and eventually made my way out to Mays Landing, which is, not far from Atlantic City. So actually, kind of across the southern part of, South Jersey on the old highway there on US 40. And around Elmer, there's a sign that I passed by basically saying, oh, you're traveling the first transcontinental highway in the country, which I don't think is actually true. I think like Lincoln Highway or something might be older. But I'll tell you distance from Atlantic City, which was 45 miles, or San Francisco, which was over 3,000 miles if you're looking in the opposite direction. A little neat site. I wasn't really anticipating that. Of course, I got some pictures and went on my merry way. So from there, what I had done is I had eventually, because I had it 40 east of where it meets 322. So I hopped on the Atlantic City Expressway for a little bit, and then went into Atlantic City. I didn't really gamble there because I don't really need to go to the casinos, and a walk around the boardwalk would have been way too cold. So what I did is actually stop by the Absecon Lighthouse for a bit, and I also did a clinch of New Jersey Route 87 and 187 there, and I went through the Bridgentine Tunnel, which is for the Atlantic City Expressway connector, which has no numbered exits, but it has lettered exits, sequentially lettered exits. I think it goes from like A to H, and then ends at the Borgata, which is a casino. And then there, there was detour signs for New Jersey Route 87, but they were in county route colors. So that's something that you'll see basically that I'll post on Instagram and Facebook sometime in the next few days. So I did that, took 30 west for a bit, and I needed to clinch New Jersey Route 157, which is a short route, from US 30 to US 9. got that clinched, took 90 down for a ways to County Route 563, took that east along the, it's called the Down Beach Connector, which is a toll road, basically goes along the, across the bay to the Barrier Island around Ventnor City, Margate, that area. So you pay a toll, it's $2. They warn you, plenty of times that there's no easy pass. So basically you pay your $2, you pay it in cash, and then basically you go on your merry way. Kind of throwback at this point, considering that we're pretty much just getting rid of toll booths everywhere else and having electronic tolling. But the reason why it was doubled back was actually to get pictures of Lucy the Elephant in Margate. Lucy the Elephant is a South Jersey landmark. Basically, my understanding is that the elephant was originally built so people could, basically could look at potential real estate holdings if they wanted to buy land in the area. This is going back, I think, towards the end of the 19th century. Definitely doesn't have that same purpose today. Basically the town's pretty built up, and real estate agents are not going to take you to the top of an elephant so you can look at property to buy. And they, use something called the internet. And you might see you might get to meet a realtor, trademark. I saw that, but the light was drawing low at that point. It was getting close to sunset. So I started making my way to Millville, where I was staying the night. But I went, basically took 152 over to Summers Point. Took a picture of a nice classic neon sign. Then worked my way over to the Garden State Parkway, and then down. I took that south to into Cape May County, and I took 83. That was like 9. US 9, then New Jersey Route 83 to drive across that, get a quick clinch, and then up 47, and then 55 to my hotel for the night. And then I'm going to take another quick break here, and then because it's, because that was the end of my drive for the day, when we come back, I'll talk about Sunday's drive. I'll talk to you soon.
Hey folks, this is Dan Murphy of Roadway Wiz and Gribble Nation, here to tell you about my program on the Gribble Nation Roadcast, known as Just Passing Through. It's a program devoted to telling the stories of America's highways, bridges, and other landmarks from the perspective of a civil engineer working on the front lines to help renew our nation's infrastructure, along with listener contributions and guest appearances featuring some of the premier characters of the road enthusiast community. We'll be talking about the roads that connect us, stories and personal accounts of my travels across the country over the years, and current events and projects in the engineering world that are shaping the travels of tomorrow. It's Just Passing Through. New episodes available on Fridays here on the Gribble Nation Roadcast, your home for the best roads talk on the internet.
And we're back. Let's talk about day 2 of the trip, because it was a multi-day trip. So I started my day in Millville, which is in South Jersey. It's considered to be the Holly City of America, because I guess there's a holly orchard there. It was actually
last year. As the new Chief of Department, Rodney Harrison, says changes are underway.
The most important thing for us is transparency and training, how we allow peaceful protest.
But he says there's a fine line between protesting and violent demonstrations. Julia Papa, 1010 Wins News.
Cops are looking for the guy who got into an argument with a bus driver and threw hot liquid in her face. This happened back on February 3rd at 3rd Avenue and East 163rd Street in the Morrisania section of the Bronx. Surveillance photos at 1010wins.com. Take a look. If you know who this guy is or where, call the Crime Stoppers hotline, 800-577-TIPS, and you do not have to give your name. A girls' soccer coach from Valley Stream named Sean Johnson is accused of having a sexual relationship with one of his 15-year-old players. Nassau County District Attorney Madeline Sinkus.
These are the cases that just sit in the pit of your stomach because these kids go off with these coaches and they're on travel teams, they're with them, they have such incredible influence over these young women, and that betrayal then is so much more devastating.
Johnson is due back in court on Monday. Prosecutors here in New York now have possession of former President Trump's tax returns.
Former President Trump's accountants at Mazars USA turned over 8 years of his personal and business tax returns to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. It fulfills the firm's obligations under a subpoena that the U.S. Supreme Court declined to stop. Millions of pages of documents were turned over on Monday, we're told, as the DA's office considers whether to prosecute the former president for possible bank and tax fraud.
Correspondent Aaron Katursky. It was a day of phone calls between top U.S. and Saudi leaders. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke with his Saudi counterpart, and President Biden spoke with the country's head of state.
President Biden spoke by phone Thursday with Saudi's King Salman, not the Crown Prince. The White House says the two leaders spoke about the U.S.-Saudi partnership and regional security, but it did not say if they spoke about Jamal Khashoggi, the intelligence report, or the Crown Prince.
Correspondent Karen Travers. Now this message, MajorWorld.com, where you only pay a $75 dealer fee and can choose from thousands of cars. Wednesday News Time 10:08. A cemetery worker has been killed while working in a grave at Washington Memorial Park in Mount Sinai. According to Suffolk County Police, 42-year-old Rodwin Allicock was working at the bottom of a gravesite more than 7 feet deep. When the grave collapsed on him, his co-workers tried and failed to rescue him. Unclear why the grave collapsed. Suffolk County Police homicide detectives are investigating. Wednesday News Time 10:09.
If you drive a car, truck, SUV, or vehicle of any kind, you need Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. That's right, with the free Get Upside gas app, you can get up to 25 cents a gallon cash back every time you buy gas. Nearly 3 million people have earned cash back with Get Upside just for buying gas.
I always use Get Upside. Some months I make $200 to $300.
I love getting money back for things I use every day. It's just free money for buying gas.
There's no catch. It's simple, and you get your cash back right away.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code OIL for a 50-cent per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 75 cents a gallon on your next fill-up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Earn cash back on gas on every fill-up. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code OIL for a 50-cent per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code OIL.
Hey folks, it's Gary, president of the Real Estate Authorities. And if you need to sell your home for any reason, listen to me real carefully. Even if you're in foreclosure or you have an auction status, I can help you sell any home right here in Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, Mount Vernon, Yonkers, Long Island, and you can walk away with $1,000 in your pocket. If you're in trouble, pick up the phone, one phone call. Sell your home. Even if you owe more on your home than it's worth, I'll get your home sold, mortgage totally forgiven, debt-free, and move on your own terms and walk away with $1,000 to relocate. It's easy and it's totally free. Yes, totally free. Call me at 800-707-1452. That's 800-707-1452. If your house is an investment property or has non-paying tenants or squatters, if it's in need of repair, mint condition, just call me. I can sell your property at 800-707-1452. That's 800-707-1452. Let me help you.
Wednesday News Time 10:11. Traffic and transit, here's Kelly Dillon.
And we'll start in New Jersey with this overturned car westbound Route 22 in Hillside approaching North Broad Street. Everything's shut down here, so you want to head to 78 instead. It's looking much better there. We did have a broken down car on the eastbound Bruckner at Hunts Point. That looks like they cleared away, so we're looking better now on the Bruckner. The cross Bronx pretty quiet. The eastbound LA in Queens, right past Greenpoint Avenue. Construction work got knocked off the left lane. Not looking too bad on the West Side Highway or the FDR Drive. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. We're quiet now across the George. No trouble now either way at the Lincoln or Hollis tunnels. The Verrazano lower deck into Brooklyn. right lane construction work slowing things up a bit. We're also a bit slow now on the Queens-bound Bronx Neck Bridge. The Whitestone Bridge looking like the better option. I'm Kelly Dillon. Our next report at 10:21 on 10:10 Winds.
Wednesday News Time 10:12. Now the 10:10 Winds AccuWeather Exogen 4-day forecast. Here's Brian Thompson.
Overnight it will be clear to partly cloudy and colder, but with less wind. Low 31 in the city. It will drop down into the 20s in both suburbs. Mainly sunny for Friday, a high of 45. And it will turn cloudy Friday evening. Rain will arrive late Friday night, which can be mixed with a bit of snow or sleet at the start. We'll see a low down to 36. And periods of rain on Saturday, which will taper off in the afternoon. Will be mild with a late day high of 51. Cloudy on Sunday with rain, especially during the midday and afternoon hours. High Sunday 46, and it's going to stay fairly mild into Monday with clouds and some sun. Still could be a shower, but most of the day will be dry. Monday's high 52. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station, 10:10 Winds.
44 degrees, clear skies in Midtown. Humidity 28%. Winds west now at 5, gusting to 18 miles an hour. It's 43 degrees in Secaucus, 40 degrees in Bay Ridge, 38 in Allendale. Wednesday News Time 10:13.
Looking for your next investment? Want to cash out of stock market risk and volatility? Here are 8 reasons to consider NRIA's proven real estate development fund. Monthly cash flow payouts of 10% annualized and bonuses to 21% targeted. We strategically locate in lower risk, high demand areas people are moving to. New construction is short on supply. Real estate affords diversification and safety from stock market risk and volatility. We have substantial property assets selling out every month supporting your investment. Our short and long-term strategy provides for steady returns today and major upside targets. Our buildings are socially responsible, environmentally friendly, and pandemic hardened. We are an industry leader with a 15-year proven track record. Hedge against inflation and receive steady cash flow. Start your due diligence at nria.net or call 800-800-1414. That's 800-800-1414.
An offer of securities is only made by the NRIA Private Placement Memorandum. Read it first. Past performance does not guarantee future results. NRIA is a real estate development firm. Learn more at nria.net.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-333-1750. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-333-1750. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-333-1750. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-333-1750. 800-333-1750.
Wednesday News Time 10:15. Lincoln Center is taking steps to revive the performing arts by creating outdoor performance and rehearsal spaces. According to the New York Times, the project, called the Restart Stages, will kick things off with a concert April 7th for healthcare workers. A number of organizations will be involved in this, including Harlem Week and the Harlem Arts Alliance, the Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance, and the Korean Cultural Center of New York, among other groups. Lincoln Center is also working with the New York Public Library on an outdoor reading program. A Brooklyn steakhouse is filling a void of indoor dining with some wax figures of famous people.
You can clink glasses with John Hamm and share Chateaubriand with Audrey Hepburn. Peter Luger's has teamed up with Madame Tussauds to fill empty space in the restaurant with wax figures. Empty because, well, city restaurants are limited to 35% indoor capacity. So the iconic Brooklyn Steakhouse is filling the void with celebrity wax. Al Jones, 1010 Winds News.
A diverse group of cities now make up the highest rates of gay households. We get more from correspondent Matt Piper.
A new report by the U.S. Census Bureau shows the city with the most gay households is San Francisco. Portland and Seattle are next, followed by Orlando and then Austin, Texas. The report focused on same-sex couples, both married and unmarried, and not gay and lesbians who are single. About 1.5% of all coupled households nationwide were same-sex. Also in the top 10 list were Baltimore, Phoenix, and Denver. Noticeably absent, New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago.
While such cities do have large gay populations, the vastness of their metro areas dilutes the concentration comparatively. Another big company is raising its minimum wage.
Costco is upping its starting rate for hourly workers at its U.S. stores to $16 per hour. Costco has around 180,000 U.S. employees, and 90% of them are hourly. The increase will take effect next week. In 2018, Costco raised its minimum wage to $14 an hour and then $15 an hour in 2019. About 20% of its hourly workers make the minimum. This puts Costco's minimum pay above Amazon, Target, and Walmart.
Correspondent Alex Stone. Pizza makers are facing renewed competition as COVID numbers continue to drop.
U.S. pizza sales aren't quite as steaming hot as they were earlier in the pandemic. Both Domino's and Papa John's say their sales were down in the fourth quarter compared to the huge increases they saw earlier in 2020. That slowdown is expected to continue as more restaurants reopen.
M. Crisula, Wednesday News Time 1018.
Attention, all employees in New York and New Jersey. It's against the law for employers to treat employees differently by denying proper wages, job opportunities, promotions, equal pay, or any other type of unfair treatment in the workplace resulting from discrimination or retaliation. If you've been a victim of discrimination, retaliation, or sexual harassment in the workplace, call the law office of Yuri Moshes at 888-295-7373 for your free consultation. That's 888-295-7373. Don't ignore workplace discrimination, retaliation, or sexual harassment. Call the law office of Yuri Moshes for your free consultation with an experienced attorney at 888-295-7373. Discrimination, retaliation, and sexual harassment in the workplace may entitle you to a monetary award. Call the law office of Yuri Moshes now for your free consultation at 888-295-7373. That's 888-295-7373. This is attorney advertisement and non-attorney spokesperson. Law office of Yuri Moshes has offices in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and West Orange, New Jersey.
PatriotSoftware.com. Accounting and payroll. Keep your time and money.
Mike Campbell here, serial entrepreneur with words from another happy payroll customer.
My husband and I started a business together, and I had no idea where to start when it came to payroll. And a friend of mine recommended Patriot, and I have not looked back since. It was extremely user-friendly. I was actually able to understand it and run everything extremely well. And anytime I've had a question, they have been so quick to answer and help me. I definitely recommend it to anyone who is looking for payroll software that is easy to use, user-friendly, and really offers everything that you need when it comes to something that's beneficial for your business.
Visit us at PatriotSoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll free. That's PatriotSoftware.com.
Accounting and payroll. Keep your time and money.
The station you know, the people you trust. 1010 wins.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good evening, 44 degrees at 10:20. I'm Paul James. Here's what's happening. The United States has launched airstrikes against Iranian-backed militias in Syria. Mayor de Blasio calling for an independent investigation into allegations that Governor Cuomo sexually harassed a now former aide. The acting head of the U.S. Capitol Police says, yes, mistakes were made January 6th. Somebody stole Lady Gaga's dogs. News time 10:21. Traffic transit. Here's Kelly Dillon.
Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels messing now with the inbound George. That lower deck getting shut down for construction work tonight. So only the upper deck open, and it is all jammed up. So avoid that. Head to the Lincoln or Holland. We're looking better. Busy at the Queensbound Bronx Neck Bridge. 2 lanes out for construction. The Verrazano into Staten Island. That lower deck now closed for construction work. And into Brooklyn on the lower deck, it's right lane construction work. Here's what we see on Lomath and 63. The LIE, the North northern and southern states through Nassau, looking all right. The westbound BQE in Brooklyn, right past the Williamsburg Bridge, only one lane open tonight with construction work as an overturned car getting cleared away as we speak on westbound 22 in Hillside at North Broad Street. So all lanes are slowly reopening here. This report sponsored by Hint Water. Hint is pure water infused with surprisingly true fruit flavors, including watermelon, blackberry, and cherry. No sugar, no sweeteners, no calories. Available in your local grocery store or at drinkhint.com. Hint, water with a touch of true fruit flavor. I'm Kelly Dillon. Our next report at 10:31 on 1010 Wins.
What's News Time 1022? The U.S. has launched airstrikes against Iranian-backed militias in eastern Syria.
The U.S. bombed buildings in an eastern Syrian town that U.S. officials say belong to Hezbollah and other Iranian-backed militias that have attacked U.S. facilities in Iraq. That latest assault in Erbil, Iraq, injured several Americans. President Biden ordering the retaliation strike. His press spokesperson says the U.S. reserves the right to respond when and how it chooses.
Correspondent Andy Field. The mayor's office and New York City health officials are criticizing the New York Times for reporting that a possible new COVID variant is spreading in the city with a mutation that could make vaccines less effective. The Times report was based on unpublished research from Columbia University. Dr. Jay Varma, Deputy Commissioner of Disease Control at the New York City Department of Health.
What we see from trial after trial, including all of the data from Johnson & Johnson, is that the two vaccines that are authorized in the U.S., the J&J vaccine, which is likely to be authorized, are incredibly effective at preventing severe illness, hospitalizations, and deaths, the two things that we're most concerned about protecting against.
Varma tweeted, "Plea to academics. Please review high-impact studies with government health departments before marketing to media," unquote. Mayor de Blasio calls for an independent investigation following allegations of sexual harassment on the part of Governor Cuomo.
We need a full and independent investigation. I mean, this is a very serious charge. We've got to know the truth, and we've got to know the truth from an investigator or an investigative entity that is truly independent.
The allegations are from former Cuomo aide Lindsey Boylan. The governor's office says claims of inappropriate behavior are quite simply false. Michigan's Attorney General says John Geddert, a former U.S. Olympics gymnastic coach, has taken his own life.
Geddert died after Attorney General Dana Nessel announced charges were filed against him, including sexual assault and human trafficking.
It is alleged that John Geddert used force, fraud, and coercion against the young athletes that came to him for gymnastics training for financial benefit to him.
Geddert was coach of the U.S. women's team that won a gold medal in 2012 at the London Olympics. Geddert also had ties to former sports doctor Larry Nassar, who's in prison.
The victims suffer from disordered eating, including bulimia and anorexia, suicide attempts and self-harm, excessive physical conditioning.
Nessel says many of these victims still carry these scars from Geddert's behavior to this day. I'm Ed Donahue.
Two guys posing as plumbers talked their way into a Bronx apartment in the vicinity of 227th Street and Barnes Avenue. Once inside, at least one of them pulled a gun, and they tied up two people who were home, a 28-year-old man and a 35-year-old man. Cops say the robbers beat the two men for hours, even using a hot iron on at least one of the victims. The attackers eventually fell asleep, and one of the victims was able to break free and run for help. When police got there, the gunmen were gone. So was the older victim. Anyone with any information is urged to call the Crime Stoppers hotline, 800-577-TIPS, 800-577-TIPS. You do not have to give your name. 43 degrees clear in Midtown, humidity 29%, winds northwest at 6, gusting to 18. Winds News Time 1025.
Today, every business is digital. From website development to third-party integration, AmericanEagle.com delivers innovative web design, development, and digital solutions, driving business growth for their clients. AmericanEagle.com's work for Dairy Queen, one of the world's most iconic brands, consisted of building a website and digital portal for thousands of global franchises and stores.
One of their goals was to build an enterprise portal to serve as a valuable company-wide communication tool, providing access to product information, marketing programs, and operations workflow. This digital program is instrumental in streamlining Dairy Queen's global operations with a platform enhancing their store's productivity. AmericanEagle.com, providing website design and development to enterprise portal solutions. When your business needs to think more digital, talk to AmericanEagle.com, building your digital mindset. Call AmericanEagle.com at 877-WEB-NOW-1 or visit AmericanEagle.com.
Wins News Time 1026. Now, Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Wins.
Investors decided, despite Federal Reserve assurances inflation is not an issue, to take no chances. They booked profits and sent the stock averages 1 3/4 to 3.5% lower. The Dow fell 560, the Nasdaq 479, the S&P 96. Our online activity during the pandemic may end up costing jobs. At Best Buy, the company is shrinking store staff, 21,000 fewer employees at the end of the last fiscal year. TD Bank cites online banking as the primary mover in closing 82 U.S. branches, most in April. Online is how we ordered food, especially in the last 3 months of the year with the COVID surge. DoorDash saw sales rise 225% in the last quarter. Edison Trends saw DoorDash expand its market share to more than half the U.S. in January. And fast food is relying on a hunger for faux meat. Beyond Meat has announced partnerships with McDonald's and Yum Brands, the parent of Taco Bell, KFC, and Pizza Hut. Bloomberg Money Watch at 26 and 56 past every hour. I'm Joan Doniger for 1010 Wins.
Wins News Time 1028.
Do you check your Google search results regularly? You should. People often get their first impression of you or your business online. Negative comments on the internet can impact your life and your livelihood. Take control of your online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com. It may reveal negative posts from an ex-employee, upset patient or client, news article, legal issue, or even expose personal information right there in your Google search results. Uncover what's lurking on the internet about you with reputationdefender.com's patented scan and get your free reputation report card. Or for immediate assistance with your reputation, call 800-933-1022. Our cutting-edge technology helps make your Google search results look their best. Call 800-933-1022. That's 800-933-1022. 800-933-1022. Or take the free scan at reputationdefender.com.
If I'm not commuting anymore, where do I really want to live? Well, you handle life's questions. Merrill Guided Investing helps you manage your portfolio and invest for your next move with the option to work with an advisor at a low cost and minimum. Merrill, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Veterans, Incorporated. Broker-dealer, investment advisor, member of LPT. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not